There's nothing like a great story of someone overcoming an obstacle in their lives. Hi, I'm Tamara Hill, and if you've been watching me here on Lift Off Your Finances, you've heard me tell lots of personal stories about how God totally transformed my finances. What's extra special today is you're going to hear from actual participants in my live events about lifting off your finances. So please stay tuned, you won't want to miss this. As children of God, we have been given the ability to both obtain and enjoy wealth. Hi, I'm Tamara Hill, creator of Lift Off Your Finances, and I'm so excited to invite you to a very special financial journey that could potentially change your life. This is not an investment series, nor is it focused on making you feel bad about any decisions that you've made up until this point. Instead, we're going to talk about how you can maximize what God has already placed in your hand. Thank you for joining us again for Lift Off Your Finances. Today is a special testimonial episode where we're going to hear from people who actually took one of my live events. You'll look at my website, I hope you will, myliftoff.net, and you'll see lots of information about upcoming live conferences, one-on-one coaching sessions, all kinds of great ways to really dive into transforming your finances. So I'm really excited about today because it's so nice. You see me talking, but it's nice to hear other people talking about all these great tips and ideas. So the first thing I want to share with us is our scripture foundation, which is Luke 21:13. And in this scripture, it says that there will be a time and an opportunity for you to testify about me. And that's exactly what people are saying. And I love the part about the about me, because really, if you're talking about lift off your finances, you really are not just doing financial principles, but you're tapping into your faith in the Lord. So it's just an awesome thing. So again, I want to make sure you know you're going to get so excited when you see this to check out the website, myliftoff.net, to find out how you can have a testimony just like all these wonderful people that you're about to see. So the first thing that most people ask, what is a Lift Off Your Finances live event? You see me on the show, but what does a live event look like? So rather than me telling you, I'm going to let these wonderful folks tell you.
Tamara blends the financial principles that are so important with biblical wisdom and Bible verses, and puts together a well-rounded curriculum that really helps put together a plan and a vision. So if you're interested in getting a leg up on your finances in 2021, I would highly recommend you looking into taking Tamara's Money Talks class. Thanks.
What I have learned from the class is that never get too busy to go back and do the basic things. Tamara has taught well about just going back to the basics of godly principles and financial budgeting, and just to make sure that you stay focused so you do not lose sight of what you can do financially and what you need to have prayer about in faith to God when something is outside of your box financially, but you know God is able to provide all. Thank you.
My name is Cody Patrick, and the biggest thing that I take away from the financial class Money Talks is being disciplined with my finances. Knowing what's in my bank account, knowing how much I'm spending, knowing how much I have coming in, knowing my bottom line and my main expenses, and also just focusing on the scripture, Proverbs 27:23, where it speaks of being diligent to know the state of your flocks and knowing the conditions of your herds. And the way that I take that, I interpret that, is again, being disciplined with knowing the state of my finances, knowing what I have in my account, knowing what I can spend, and being disciplined with managing and budgeting everything.
Wow, wasn't that awesome? I just really love seeing those testimonials because they filmed those apart from me. So I'm watching them just like you and thinking, hey, that's pretty good. I want to go to a Lift Off Your Finances live event, and I hope you feel the same way. So let's continue looking at a few more because these really speak to hope and hope for your finances.
If you are asking God for more money, you need to come to this class, Money Talk, because here you are going to learn how to handle your money, your debts, or the savings. Or if you don't have any savings, you are going to know God have a plan for you, because this course is based in the scriptures and the Word of God, and He always have a way out. Thank you.
Another thing I would say is the level of transparency really helps. Because when Tamara is sharing her difficulties or some hard things that she had to face, it makes us feel a lot better about some mistakes that we have made. And so no matter where you are, you may feel like, oh my God, I'm a failure, or oh my God, I don't know how am I going to come out of this. Yet Tamara does have that disposition, and she does create the type of environment within the class to still help us to see that we will be victorious in the end. We may have made some mistakes in the past, many of us have, including myself, but now I have more of a victorious mindset because of how she presents it.
One of the most important things I learned in Money Talks, I think, was to not get down on myself financially. Tamara's Money Talks class really gave me tools and forgiveness to be able to acknowledge where I had been in the past with my money and to really put a good plan together with God's help and guidance and forgiveness to be able to plan a future of hope.
Even the forms and the handouts that she gives us is loaded with scripture. And that helps us in our walk with God to challenge us to become better stewards financially. And again, to know that we may have come from a rough place, but God still wants the best for us and we can achieve it.
I hope that really inspired you, because I just love that they chose to describe this in the language of hope. And that's really important. If you've seen me promote Lift Off Your Finances, one of the key phrases that I share is that this is not meant to make you feel bad about any financial mistakes or decisions that you've made in the past, because we're all growing. And so I hope that seeing those class participants will let you know that the environment is a safe space. Or not, rehashing anything that we didn't like, but it really is meant to be a place of encouragement. And with that said, it makes me think of 1 Thessalonians 5:11, where basically it says, therefore encourage one another and build each other up, just as you are in fact doing. And that's awesome, because that really describes the environment of the live Lift Off Your Finances sessions. You're going to be with people who really are positive, who have that environment, and will create that environment together of hope and not discouragement, and that's really important. So if you're just now joining me, we're talking about Lift Off Your Finances, specifically our live opportunities, whether it's live in one of our live conferences or during a one-on-one personal coaching session. These are really unique opportunities to really lean in and practice the principles that we've discussed for several weeks here on Lift Off Your Finances. And so I really encourage you to check out the website, get more details, and if you feel so inclined, I would love to meet you and talk to you. So now we've talked a lot about the actual live Lift Off Your Finances sessions, but I want to talk to you a bit more about personal coaching. And so what's the difference? So in a live session, you're going to be with a broad group of people, diverse groups, age, genders, etc. And everybody has come to this session with a different perspective. So when it's a personal session, it's just what it says. You really have a chance to really talk to me, lean into showing me what your financial goals are, and then together we can work out a strategy. And so today, I'm so honored to share a testimony from someone who I worked with in this exact way. And so I'm going to read this to you, and I'm going to highlight a few things for you because it's just an amazing message that I think will inspire you. So this is from someone who I actually work with. As you all know, I work full-time in healthcare, and I'm so passionate about this, I have to get up early on Saturday morning to tell you about it, because you just got to know. But this particular person, we worked together in a personal coaching session, and he says, I met Tamara about 4 years ago, and we both worked together. And after getting to know her a little bit and better, I realized pretty quickly that she knew quite a bit about money and personal finance, and I realized that I knew very little at the time, which is completely okay. And that I had some real challenges in that area as it related to existing debt as well as my spending habits. He says my bottom line each month was a bit of a challenge for me, and I kind of just didn't know where to begin. But after continuing to get to know Tamara and becoming more comfortable talking about some of these things, I realized right away that she was a great resource for me. What she did was really took the time with me to lay out all of my finances, and we went through it line by line to see where my debt was, what my spending patterns were, and what my average savings looked like, which at the time was pretty minuscule. Now I want to pause right there for a second about savings. He's definitely not alone. I think I have the statistic right here. The average savings for American households right now is about $3,500. And the other statistic with that is that 39% of Americans do not currently have enough cash on hand to cover a $400 emergency. I mean, that's mind-blowing, because as Americans, and particularly as children of God, we can do better than that. And oftentimes we just need a little bit of help and encouragement to help us move to a new level of savings and to reach our financial dreams. So let's continue hearing from him. I want to put this on the screen because this is really good. He said, fortunately, I had a good job and I had a good income, but I just wasn't managing that at all. So I want you to look at that language. You know, a lot of people say that because they can say, oh, I make good money. You know, that's a statement. How's your finance? Oh, I'm doing good. I make good money. But if you're not telling that money where to go, you might be surprised where it ends up. Might end up at Macy's. Might end up at the taco stand. You know, we have to really dictate where our money is going, or else you just find out it went in places that you didn't want it to go. So I'll continue reading his testimony. He said, so after Tamara went through all of my information with me, she helped me develop a concrete plan of what I needed to focus on and what my short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals needed to be. And she took a lot of time making sure that I understood the plan. It's not that she just provided it to me and left me to my own devices. I love that. So after going through that plan and understanding it and then starting to work on my own towards executing it, a little bit each day, each week, and each month, and we got to share this comment from him. I want to make sure this stands out. He says, I really started to see a dramatic turnaround in my savings each month, which allowed me to really start putting money towards my pre-existing debt. And I was able to pay off roughly $20,000 in debt in about an 8-month time period. Yes, that's not a typo. He did pay off $20,000 worth of debt. Now, like he said, he did have a really strong income, but he wasn't managing it. So over an 8-month period, with really taking the lift off your finances principles, he was totally able to transform his financial destiny. And so he just, you know, it's just really inspirational, and I want you to know that that can be you as well. So I want to put up one last comment from him that I think you'll like. He says, I also had some fortunate things happen as well during that time period, but because I had a plan and because I had an approach, I knew what to do as some of that fortune presented itself. That is really what Lift Off Your Finances is all about. Because when you think about the foundation, when I talk to you about knowing your bottom line, understanding how to navigate debt, savings, and credit cards, and really understanding the concept of liquidity and windfalls, if you know that, you will see it exactly as he mentioned. If you don't have that foundation, when these opportunities came, what he was saying in particular is that he received some unexpected raises and bonuses. Before knowing those principles, he would have just probably went on a shopping spree. But because he had those tools in his toolbox, when that money came, he knew, oh my gosh, this is an opportunity for me to allocate it towards debt. And that's how he was able to pay off that $20,000 worth of debt that he mentioned. So, you know, just hearing that, it just makes me think, not that Tamara is so awesome, but God is so awesome for being willing to come and just help us wherever we are with our finances. And, you know, something that's really specific about Lift Off Your Finances, and we'll talk about that more, as you know, is that it's not just financial principles. We're talking about godly principles that undergird those financial principles. But I think that sometimes people, you hear me here and you think, well, if I'm not, you know, as experienced in having a relationship with God like you, is this going to work for me? And the answer is yes, because the gentleman who wrote this wonderful testimony doesn't yet have a relationship with the Lord. And I want you to know that, just because this information is for everyone. And the way I'm sharing it with you here, talking about the power of God and how he will help you, I shared it with him like that too. It didn't scare him off. He kept coming to his sessions. So, so I just want you to know that, you know, we all have friends and loved ones who don't yet know the Lord, or don't, you know, they're kind of curious, kind of knowing what is this all about. If you come to a live Lift Off Your Finances event, you won't be intimidated. It's a welcoming environment for everyone. So I just want you to really know that. And with this particular person, my hope is that this inspired him, and who knows, one day he will pursue that relationship. So thank you so much for that. And again, I hope you enjoyed hearing about the personal coaching sessions. If you go to my website, myliftoff.net, you can get more details about signing up for one of those sessions or coming to the live seminar or doing both. That's actually what he did. He did it in reverse. He did the personal sessions and then kind of got that extra motivation in the live session. But whatever you want to do, I think it'll be very well worth your time. So the next thing I want to talk about is really what separates Lift Off Your Finances from some of the other financial programs that you may have heard of. And you know, I've had to give that a lot of thought just because when I think about it, I felt like, you know, what does make this different? Because, you know, you can follow these principles. And I gave it some real thought and I have a great answer. But I'm not going to steal the show. I want you to hear from the people who actually took the class to hear what they had to say. So let's hear some of their testimonials.
Money Talks is much different than other financial classes I've taken, which are more accounting-based, talking heavily about debits, credits, and making you feel completely guilty about the debts that you have without any solution. Tamara's class was what I would call a finance light course, where she gives you the assignments to do, trust that you can do them and use your own initiative to get them done, and then come back and review them on the next class.
This class is more personal. It talks more about what God wants you to do and how He wants to bless you through being financially stable.
It was fun, and we enjoyed all the people and the stories people had to say, and the good info too of what you can save money on and what you can little things, little tips everybody had, you know, different stories, different backgrounds. It was it was fun and interesting.
Sometimes people just need something at a simpler level, so simplicity goes a long way. It's not a lot of financial jargon that most people would have to go and study. It's just simple, everyday, common language that you could speak to anyone, such as Tamara, and just have a simple conversation about without having to open a textbook or going online to research everything.
I think they should do it if they especially don't know what the word says, because she has a lot of biblical backing of what the word says, and which is the best part about the class, I have to say. Well, and what would you say?
Yeah, she Bible backs what she says, so that's really good.
Wow, I just love that last duo there, Matthew Erickson with his dad, David Erickson. And Mr. Erickson suffered from a stroke a few years back, but he is such an inspiration because he is totally in love with life, he loves God, and he supports everything. He's been a follower with Lift Off Your Finances from the very beginning. And so I just love, again, seeing that spirit of hope and hearing all of them talk about what makes this class or this series different from other financial planning resources that you may have opportunity to pursue. And so now I'll share my answer about why I think that Lift Off Your Finances is different from some other popular regimens or routines that you hear about. And I really think it's that personalization, not just personalization from me, but personalization from the Holy Spirit. So when we talk about our finances, it's a key theme to really pray about these things. I'm sharing with you some core foundations, but really, when you start thinking about what to prioritize, what your dreams are, it really is going to involve some time, I recommend, in prayer. Because what may be the right thing for me to do might not be the right thing for you to do. Okay? And sometimes when you pray, you get different answers, and that's why I really encourage that. There are some times where people say, you know, I think that I should pay off this amount of debt first before I pursue my dream of going back to school. But after you pray about it, you know what? God may have a different solution for you. He may be able to allow you to do both. Or maybe you feel like, you know, I can't, and this is a case for me, I can't purchase a home until I have, you know, 8 months of savings. And God said, no, I'm ready for you to have a home now. And I'm glad he did, because he blessed me to get into that home. And through that process, I did get that 8 months of savings eventually. So you just never know. You want to leave room for God. I'm going to steer you right and share those key principles. But what separates Lift Off Your Finances is really including the Lord in your plan. And if you include him in your plan, his word says that he will direct your steps. And I'm a witness, as well as all the people that you have seen, that this is very, very true. So that's a lot of great information. I hope, again, this inspires you to want to be a part of one of our live sessions for Lift Off Your Finances, and also to consider being part of our personal coaching sessions. So what I want to do now is remind you about that, to check out the website, myliftoff.net. That's where you can get more details about those two opportunities and learn more about the show in general. But then I want to also share a lot of the written comments that I've gotten. I'll share some on the screen, but I'll just read some of them to you. I think this is nice. So we'll call this section, here's what people are saying about Lift Off Your Finances. And I love that. It sounds like a lot of people, and there are a lot of people. So the first thing is, this person says, Tamara's kind and understanding approach to money mistakes makes her teaching accessible and guilt-free. And I appreciate her encouragement to access all the financial blessings that God has put within our reach. Thank you, Tamara. Wow, I love that one, because it's the truth. I mean, we need an environment of hope and encouragement, and I'm so glad to hear that someone picked up on that. The next person said, Tamara is very joyful and pleasant in personality. She is transparent in sharing her financial ups and downs of life. Yes, that's true. I mean, I think that's part of the reason why I'm really set on not judging anybody, because if there's been some mistakes, I've made them. We won't get into all of those there right here, but I have shared some. You know, I shared with you trying to go to a job interview and having my phone cut off on the way there. How embarrassing was that? So there definitely have been some financial mistakes here, but God has grace for all those mistakes. And you need to have grace for yourself as well, so that you can move forward. The next one that we have is Tamara. We can put this one on the screen. Tamara was a great and empathetic listener and gives us the feeling that she really cares. And that means a lot to me, because I really, really do. It bothers me when I see people, anybody, but especially a person who is a Christian who's struggling in their finances, because there's so much more that we can do with our minds beyond worry about how we're going to pay the bills. And the thing is, especially if you're in that mindset and you have children, they're watching that and they're forming conclusions about money, good or bad. So I just really am empathetic about this and wanting people to know that there is a way out. And that you really should believe God for your dreams. That's in an upcoming episode, because right now, even if you're a person who's like, I'm totally underwater with my finances, how do you know that God's dream for you is not for you to be very wealthy so that you can help someone else? You just don't know. But it's coming to these type of sessions and getting that type of inspiration where you'll start thinking like that. And who knows, everything is possible with God. He even said so himself. So another nice comment that we have here is Tamara is great at teaching and working in a group setting. She makes you feel comfortable by using her personal stories, which provide a lot of insight. So I must be talking a lot. Everybody keeps talking about these stories, but I come from a long line of storytellers, so I guess it just kind of comes naturally. But it's not just me telling stories. Because it isn't a group setting, if you come to a live event, you hear other people sharing their stories too. And I think that really helped relax the atmosphere so everyone just felt comfortable and not judged. So another comment that I'd like to share on the screen is, I really enjoyed Tamara's disposition and her willingness to help us. Her transparency is also helpful, as she shows us that even though we make mistakes, we still can come out victorious. One of my favorite words in the dictionary, victorious. So another comment that we have, Tamara is awesome. Her real life stories helps us understand what God may be leading us to or away from. Wow, that was an honest comment, because sometimes God is leading us away from things. And, it's not always easy to change our habits. But, the key there is God. That's where we can pray and ask him to help us. And if you come to a live Lift Off Your Finances event, you'll be inspired by other people who are doing the same thing, and some who've already been in your steps. So it's not just a class for beginners. It's a class for everyone. So here's another great one that I'd like to share with you. It says, Tamara is a great presenter. I love her easygoing style and the encouragement that she gives in sharing her experiences. So again, hearing those testimonials, that was the key theme when we opened up the show. It really makes a difference, and it's something that can really inspire us all to make changes. I'm actually inspired by hearing your testimonies as well, and I invite you to come share some with me on my website, myliftoff.net. Please be sure to do that. So this is another one. Tamara is well organized and well spoken. I put that down there not just to say Tamara, but because it is organized. You know, I think that when you're talking about finances, it's easy to get overwhelmed. So I do try to break it down into small, digestible bites so that you can get the key concepts and feel motivated and not like, I can never do this, because I've been there myself. So there's some other things. This feedback that I'm reading from you came from anonymous surveys from class participants. And so I want to share with you, that these classes are also evolving. So there was a question on our survey about what would you like to hear in the future? So I want to share with you some of the things that we received in that survey and that we actually have discussed here on Lift Off Your Finances. One of them, someone was asking about buying versus leasing a car. We talk about that in one of our upcoming episodes if you're making that decision. We also, there were some questions that we'd like to hear more about credit card management. Specifically, is it okay to cancel credit cards? And I would say, usually you don't because it kind of disrupts your credit history. But the fact that someone wants to hear more about that, I'll definitely work that into our next upcoming live event. Another question that someone has is, can we talk about what it means to be house rich but budget poor? And that is a real issue. And basically what that is just that you're spending so much money on your housing that you don't have enough money to go in other areas. And I think that's a real issue here where we are filming this show in beautiful Denver, Colorado, where the cost of living, I think the cost of living is going up everywhere, but that's a real question. And so since someone put that on the survey, we will definitely cover that in more detail at one of our live events. And then some additional topics that people have requested is, how do couples handle money together? That's a big question. And you know what? I think that people think about the challenges with that in terms of he has an idea, she has an idea, but you know what? You can come together. If you're a couple, you have double power to really transform your finances because you potentially have two incomes. And if you don't have two incomes, you have two minds, two planners, two people to implement the plan. That's a great place to be in if you are a couple trying to manage your money. Another question that some people have asked about is, when is it a good time to borrow money against your 401k or retirement? Now, general, guidance there is that you really don't want to do that because there's tax implications, but it's things like that that we will definitely come in upcoming episodes. So I really hope that you have been inspired by all of this. If you have not already, check out my website, myliftoff.net. On there, you'll find out more about our upcoming live events, personal coaching sessions, and much more. And most of all, please don't forget to give me your feedback because I love hearing from you. So thank you so much for joining us. Hope to see you soon. Hi, I'm Tamara Hill, and I know you're loving Lift Off Your Finances. Now you have the opportunity to join me and other students live in one of our upcoming conferences. We do these in different places in beautiful settings, and it's a great time to ask me your burning questions, better understand key principles like your bottom line, how to navigate debt and other savings and reach your goals. You don't want to miss this. Stay tuned and check out my website, myliftoff.net, for more details.